Welcome to Jammin with Jamboard. This is a hot topic, and I'm glad we're going to give a lot of time to it today. So I'm excited to hear Amanda speak on this topic. But before we get there, let's get through some announcements. First and foremost, if you're watching this on the YouTube channel, thank you so much. No, you do not get a certificate, but you do get the knowledge. And right underneath the video in the details, you will see the resource for today. You may have to click show more, but you can get them right underneath the video. So who am I, you may ask? Why, I am Dr. Desiree Alexander. I am the founder, CEO of Educator Alexander Consulting, and I am the one that sponsors and hosts and whatever else you want to say for the EA webinar series. So thank you for being with me today. And these are all of the lovely ways that you can contact me. Yay! Some announcements. What do we have coming up next weekend? We have amplifying thinking routines. This is going to be an interesting one. We're going to be talking about different tech tools to amplify those thinking routines next weekend. Then we have the Leadership Academy. Anyone who is interested in becoming an educational leader, or if you're already an educational leader, this is going to be an amazing day of sessions. So it's going to be different educational leaders from around the United States talking about their experiences, talking about how to become an educational leader. We have a principal panel that you can actually submit questions to and get real, like how do you get a job and that kind of stuff. So really awesome day of learning. You come and you go as you want to, and it's completely for free. That's on June 7th. Then we have Virtual Camp Apple. So this is a Louisiana nonprofit that I also work for. They're amazing. And we usually put on a virtual camp summer conference, but of course we're virtual this year, hopefully for the last year, but it's completely free. You can win prizes and all that good stuff. Remember, all of this information is on that link at the bottom. Then I am going to do a keynote for the Wakelet community event. So if you know Wakelet, if you don't know Wakelet, you know Wakelet. Even if you don't know Wakelet, you still know that Wakelet is awesome. But I'm going to be talking about how to break through barriers to achieve your goals. So it really is a keynote versus like a presentation. But I am happy to keynote on that date. Then we have personalized learning with Google Arts and Culture. I saw Tammy present on this for Google, and it just kind of blew my mind. You always think you know everything about Google. And I saw this and I was like, oh my goodness, why don't more people know about this? So I just tapped her and I was like, you gotta come do a webinar. We gotta get the word out about Google Arts and Culture. So definitely June 19th, 11 to 12, come and check her out. Then we have Tech You Can Do. Now, I will tell you, you're the first people to hear this, that 2 of these dates have to change. I'm so sorry, but July 6th will now be July 9th, and July 8th will now be July 12th. So the flyer will be changing. Everything will go out to people who are already registered. And again, so sorry, but July 6th, Google Forms will now be July 9th, and July 8th, Google Drawings and Jamboard will now be July 12th. But if you have not seen Sarah, just put her name together, Sarah Kiefer speak and do her presentations, you are missing out. So she did a whole series for us last summer. She's coming back to talk about like level 2, how to level up your Google skills. And then I am speaking at INSTE 21. So if you are coming to INSTE, check my sessions out. We are going to be talking about inclusion tech hacks in July. I'm going to be teaching at Teach Tech, and you see I'm going to be there every day, like almost every hour. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff, and you can register for 20% off using Friends. And then creating your digital library, July 17th. Ed Change Global. You can actually still apply to present. We have so many presentations already. We just approved a whole bunch of them. So you can apply to present, I think until like June 15th, I think. Don't quote me on that. But you can also sponsor and of course come. It's the original 24-hour conference. Financial Literacy for Educators, July 31st. Back to school with Bunsey, August 21st, infusing digital reading and writing tools in the remote blended our face-to-face classroom on October 2nd. And that's the last one that we have scheduled for right now. But like I said, we have more coming. October 30th, TCCA, one of my favorite conferences. I will be there in person, hopefully. Yay. In Houston, Texas, I'll be a feature presenter and a vendor there. And that is about it for me. So we are going to get started for what you came here for, Jammin with Jamboard.
Okay, guys. So I'm super excited today. Super excited. So I have been using Jamboard for a while now. And it kind of came out of a necessity with COVID. And then I just realized, okay, there's so much more potential. So I kind of wanted to share that with y'all today. I know it's a Saturday and I know it's right before Memorial Day and we're like, oh, but I'm really excited that y'all came. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing is that what you're looking at right now is a Jamboard, okay? And we're going to be talking about how to create them, what it is, where it is, the tools, how do we use it, how do we share it out, how can we even view it from a kid's perspective, as well as how to grade it if you choose to use it as an assessment. So I am a 5th grade teacher. I am in Livingston Parish, Louisiana. I am a master trainer for the parish, and I'm just super excited about being here. And if you're in South Louisiana and you have not heard about GEG, you need to look it up. It's Google for educators, and it's part of the global Google. It's a subsidiary, basically. Lots of information through that. I am a level 1 certified educator. I'm trying to work on my level 2. So we're going to move on. What is Jamboard? Okay, so Jamboard is a digital whiteboard. You can draw on it. You can insert images in it. You can put text in it, okay? We don't call them slides. You know how Google Slides have slides? We call them frames, okay? So if I say we're going on to the next frame, it's kind of like saying slide, okay? If you want to call it slide, that's okay with me. What makes it so interesting is that if you have a touchscreen computer, or if you're on your phone, your smartphone, it allows you to use your finger and you can actually write on it just like you would a whiteboard, okay? Now, if you don't have that option, you can still insert text and things into it. So it's not like a game changer, oh, I can't use my finger or a stylus, it's okay. What can you use it for though? So we can use it for student collaboration, right? Big attendance even. So if you wanted to put it up and you were trying to get attendance before your period or whatever, bell ringers, which is what I started out using it as, and I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Exit tickets, super quick and fast. Instead of picking up index cards or picking up sticky notes, you can have them all on your screen and just go through them and look at them and go, okay, yeah, little Johnny doesn't get it. I'm gonna have to pull him in small groups, so-and-so, okay? We can use them for assessments, like I said. And interactive notebooks, right? So I have them for math and science. I teach both, and I use them a lot. I loved it. We cut out stuff, right? We glued it in there, and sometimes we didn't have glue and they fell out. Sometimes we were writing in it and a notebook got lost. Okay, so all of those things, I was like, okay, I really like interactive notebooks, but I wanted something digital. And especially if a child wasn't there that day, I needed them to have access to it easily. So we went with a digital format for that as well. So instead of losing all those little clippings or anything else, or even just the whole notebook, it's all in Google Classroom for me. And my students have access to it at any time as long as they're on the internet. So they can view it at home. They can even print it out if they want, okay? And it's just a lot of things that we're gonna go through today. All right, so let's start with how you get to Jamboard. There are different ways. If you go up to your little waffle, right? If you got your name up here and you're in your Google account, there's a little waffle next to your name. And one of the options, you might have to scroll down, is Jamboard. And it looks like a big kind of bubbly J. Okay. You can open a Jamboard that way, and it'll allow you to, it'll have a little plus sign in the bottom. You'll click on that and it'll open up a new Jamboard for you to start working on. Another way to get to it is through your drive. So you can go to your drive, scroll down, hit more, and then you'll see, oops, you'll see Google Jamboard right here. Okay. And you can open it that way. Now, there's also some shortcuts. If you just type in jamboard.google.com up here in the box, you'll be able to access it that way. And if you wanted to just start a brand new, quick and easy, you just go, watch this, jam.new. Bam. Got a new Jamboard ready to roll. Let's say you use Google Meet. You can open one up right there with a whiteboard. It'll open up Google Jamboard right there through your Google Meet. You can share it out to the kids. Everybody can work on it at the same time. It's awesome. So some limitations. Let's talk about that. You do have a maximum of 20 slides or frames. Okay. So you can only go up to 20. And you can only have a max of 50 students in one jam at a time. Remember, I talked about how it was collaborative. You can have 50 kids on one Jamboard at one time. Okay. I know that sounds a little chaotic, but there are ways around that. If you wanted to put just a certain group of kids on a whiteboard at a time, you can do that as well. Okay. So think of it that way in terms of collaborative as, you know how when you're in small, when you have a group of kids and you give them that big piece of paper and you're like, okay, everybody write down what you're doing on it. That's what I'm talking about, collaborative. This kind of replaces that big sheet on the desk. Okay. But there's not only that. I mean, you could individually assign Jamboards, which would be great for write an interactive notebook. You could issue it out to a small group. You could make it a whole class. Okay. So you've got lots of different options. So let's talk about the web tools first. You have a pen, and that pen gives you a pen. You also have a marker, a highlighter, and even a paintbrush. Okay. If I choose to write on this, it would look like that. Okay. I can erase it. Okay. I can insert a sticky note. Whoop. And I have different color options. Right. I can insert an image, and we're going to get to this later, but you can upload from your computer, a URL if you know where your photo is. You can take a camera, like you can take a photo right there and put it up. How cool would that be for your kids? You can search in Google for an image. You can pull something from your Google Drive or even your Google Photos. So lots of options there. You have shapes, different shapes. And when you do a shape, right here, you can change the border color. And if you want it to be transparent, you go right up here and you hit transparent. And now it's just a box that you can move around. Text boxes. So if I wanted to type something in here, I can make a text box. Also noted, undo button, right? Because we all make mistakes. Oh, that's gone. And then a laser button. Woo! That's pretty cool. So some other notes are, if you want to go to another slide, as you can see, we go to next frame. And right here, you have more actions. We'll get to that later. And then you have the share button up here, which allows you to add collaborators and get a link and other things. And we'll get to that too. So we can use this on the web, but we also have the ability to use it on an app. So if you have a tablet or a smartphone, you can download Jamboard app. And there are some extra things that come with those, okay? We just went through the web version tools, super cool. But the app versions have some other things like assistive drawing or assistive text. So if I wrote with my finger, it could change it into text for me, which is pretty cool. You still have the option to make a sticky note, to pull from your drive, to use a camera or even a library for images. And it has the same tools here with the laser pointer, and you have shapes and things too. The thing is with the assisted drawing, you can draw the shape and then it'll try to make it into a textual shape, which is pretty cool. All right, so let's get started with a Jamboard. So I have I have this Jamboard right here, okay? And I'm going to show you how to use this as a general purpose, okay? So let's say I'm trying to get an understanding of where you are in terms of Jamboard. I have made this little 3 section right here, okay? This is for my newbies. This is, I know some, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert a GIF of my experts, okay? So I've got my 3 different sections for my people to put their responses in. And we're going to share this out to y'all in a minute, and we're all going to get on and put our answer in. So you can put a GIF into Jamboard, which makes it pretty cool. You could go through add images, and you could Google search. So you might put, I don't know, rainbow, and you might put GIF behind it, GIF, okay? Or you could upload if you have saved a GIF. Okay, you can put one in that way. If you have this extension though, right here, Jiffy, I can simply search for a GIF. I'm going to put, so for my people who know it all, and I just pull that right in there. And we'll give it a second. There you go. So here are my 3, resize that. My 3 different categories of experience, okay? So what I'm gonna do right now, if you don't mind, if you have another tab, if you're on a computer, or if you're on a smartphone, can you just put this address in for me? And it's gonna bring you to this, and you can start typing on it. So I want you to create a sticky note, and I want you to just put your initials or your first name or whatever you're comfortable with, and put that under which one you are. So give everybody a minute to get in there and work on that. And as you can see, I see people popping up right here. And if y'all don't mind, I'm going to make this a little smaller and put it right here. So when you get in, I want you to go to Sticky Note. Click Sticky Note. Put your initials or your name, however you want. Oops. Let me get that bit.ly back. And this is, oops, this is that bit.ly if you need it, if you didn't get in, the little website right here. Look at all these people. So I'm seeing about a half, I have no clue, to a little bit. And then some of us are on the fence. I love that. Okay, close this. So as you can see, since I shared this out to you as collaborative, I'm seeing on my screen what y'all are doing at the same time, and so is everybody else, okay? So what would this be good for? Would this be good for a check-in to see how everybody's doing that day? Would this be good for Four Corners? Would this be good for KWL? Probably not, right? So think of some ideas when you would use something like this in your classroom. Would you have something collaborative like this? maybe a disagree or agree to a question you put on the board, right? So instead of us all going to a dry erase board and putting a sticky note, right? You can do it from my desk, and I have it in front of me as well. All right, guys. So I'm seeing, looks like a majority of us are kind of one of these two. It's pretty cool. All right. So since now that I know that, I'm going to use this to slow down a little bit on my presentation, okay? So let's start with some general uses. I'm going to close this. So let's talk about some uses that you can use every day in your classroom. 4 corners, right? Agree, disagree. So this is just a line down the middle with 2 pictures and a bunch of sticky notes down here. And the kid types over the word name with their name and drags it to where they want. Good, okay, bad. How do I feel about the lesson? So these are great for whole group or small group. This is probably something you want for just an individual, right? Where a KWL chart, and they can come back to it later in the lesson or the unit and fill in what they've learned. Okay, so those are some general uses. What we're going to do now is we're going to create a math one. Okay, so I'm going to put in here jam.new. That's my shortcut. Okay, got my new one. First thing I'm going to do is probably title this, and I'm going to go ahead and title this graphing angles. Oops, not angels. There we go. And let's say I wanted to do this as an exit slip, or maybe even a self-check, which we're going to talk about in a minute. When we think graph and we think graph paper, right? Jamboard's got that. Set background, graphing paper, ta-da! And I want to make a 90-degree angle here. So I'm going to have them graph that. So I'm going to go right here. I'm going to use the pen. Now you'll notice when I do this, oh, what is that? That's all sloppy, right? But if you hold down the shift button while you drag, oh, it's a beautiful straight line. And I'm going to do it again. Perfect. So I've got that. Now, what might I want them to use with this, right? A protractor. Can I get one of those? Sure. Let's go to add image. This is how our manipulatives can be made in math. And I'm just going to search for protractor. And I'm going to put that in as a PNG. PNG just means that it doesn't have a background. It's transparent, okay? You could put protractor transparent background behind it. That would be fine too. So I'm going to put ping in there. And I'm going to pick this guy right here. And I'm going to click insert. Look at that. He's transparent. He's movable. Oh, I can put it right there on top. Oh, look at that. I did make a perfect 90. So I'll put this over here for them to drag on top of to use. Now, what if I wanted them to self-check it? Well, I could put a text box here with the answer, right? But then I want them to do the work first. So maybe I'll go ahead and put a sticky note on top of it. Like, maybe the answer's underneath here. Make that big enough to cover it. So a kid goes in here, checks it out, does the work, right? Goes, what was the real answer? Oh, okay, I got it, check. That's pretty cool. Let's look at some other math uses. Manipulatives. So you can use that PNG search to find these shapes, or you can snip them individually, like copy and paste them. You could find them and then save them and insert them. All kinds of options here. If you have one with a background and you want it taken away, there's something called remove.bg, which takes away your background, something to look into. What about my upper? Let's graph a quadratic function, right? So all of the work is right here. Directions, everything. The kid just goes in, does this, check. My littles, let's put a telling time. I could give them a worksheet and they could write on it and they might lose it. But if I have this for them and each individual child has their own, they can access it at any time to review or study, right? 100 chart, here's your chart. And we can make these little circles right here movable, and they would just drag them and put them on top like counters. Geoboards. We can use that shift button, right, when we draw on it. And I've just put this as a background, okay? We just make some shapes. Now, if you didn't want that, what you could do also is there's another background here, which is just dots. Kind of like a geoboard in itself. Pretty cool. Fractions. So let's say I wanted them to sort something. I could have them go in as a group or a class, or even individually and offer them the fractions I want them to do, and they would just drag and drop them in there. Games. This is actually something I've seen a long time ago. I think this was from Georgia when Common Core first came out. It was a game that they had. These are little movable pieces. You can put 2 players on it, and they can use the pieces to do it instead of you printing it out and finding the game pieces and everything. They can just move the pieces and do the work on paper or even on the Jamboard itself. Number of the day, I do fraction of the day, but number of the day is awesome too. So this is just a background, and then there's some little pieces on top that are movable, like these little counters. Everything else the kid would just write on, and we're going to talk about how you can make a background like this later. All right, so let's talk about another use with math, and that is equations, right? So when I go ahead and make this, I could type, let's say I wanted 2/3. Oh, no, I wanted that to be vertical, right? I don't like that. I could write on it and put 2/3, right? But sometimes that's a little sloppy, okay? So what we have is something called Equatio. If you're not familiar with that, we're about to be. So what you do is there is a Chrome extension. It's free. It's called Equatio, okay? You actually get free 30-day premium trial once you start it. I'm over that, obviously, and in the free version, which still offers some cool stuff, okay? But the premium version's got some other cool stuff too. So let's say I wanted to insert some nice looking mathematical text into my Jamboard, and I didn't want to have to write it, okay? And I didn't want to use the text box in Jamboard. I can use this. So I pulled this open right here from my Chrome extension. You would install it. You would open it by using this button. If you don't know where that is, sometimes you have to click here and scroll through to find the rest of your extensions. That's just a little tip. So I have it right here. And what I'm going to do first is I want to make a nice 2/3, okay? So I'm going to click Equation Editor, and I'm going to type in 2/3. Oh, look, I pressed, guys, if you didn't know, I pressed the backward slash, and it just automatically made it into that beautiful fraction for me. And then I'm going to hit Insert Math. And there it is, nice and pretty. Also useful if you're making worksheets, okay? So why am I doing this in a Google Doc? Well, because I'm going to copy and paste it into a Jamboard. I can't use Equatio in a Jamboard, okay? So the next thing I wanted to show you was graphing, graph editor. So I'm going to take this out. And let's say I wanted to show a graph of some coordinates. I can do that, put my coordinates in. You got other options as well. And I'm going to hit Insert Graph. Beautiful. Maybe I need them to find the ordered pairs for that. Okay. Another option here is handwriting text or handwriting to text. I'm going to take that out because I'm done with it. And this time I'm going to write in an equation. I'm going to put 3x plus 2y equals 6. And I'm going to insert that. And now I've got these nice representations that I can use in my Jamboard. And all you have to do is hit it hit copy. You can right click copy, or you can press my favorite friend, Control C, copies it right there for you. And then I'll just paste this in with Control V. Let's try that again. Control C, Control V, there we go. And it's there. I can move it around if I need to. I can make it bigger. Whatever means I have necessary. Okay. So that's pretty cool how we can get those nice text in there. Same thing with this image. I'm going to hit Control C. I'll go back to this, click on my frame and hit Control V. I'm using Windows, by the way. You might have to hit Command instead of Control if you're on a Mac. Okay, so now I've got this cool stuff, right? They can go in and do it. You can make this bell work. Let me show you what bell work in my class look like. So I put problems up on a Jamboard for Monday through Thursday, and they did it individually. We went over it as a class, just like you would normally do bell work. But they were able to write all of this and then refer back to it at any point. So if I had a quiz on this on Friday, they can refer back to it and look at how they solved, as long as they wrote notes. Okay. So that's how this really kind of started for me. And then I went kind of spiraled out of control with it because I loved it so much. So I've got that. So the next thing let's take a look at is, how do we insert maybe a PDF? Okay. So I'm going to go to a new frame, and I have some student work right here. I scanned it. If you didn't scan it, you can snip it, and I'm going to show you how to do that too. I have a snipping tool here, and if you're on a Windows, you have one too. You just have to search for it over here. And it's right here, Snip and Sketch. This is the old tool. I'll show you the new tool too to snip. So if I wanted a screenshot of this, okay, I can press Windows button, Shift button, and an S at the same time. Windows, Shift, and S. And it's going to say, well, hey, what do you want? Okay, I'll take that paragraph right there. And now I'm going to open it, and I can save it. Oops. And it'll save it as an image. And then guess what? What did we say we can do with images? We can insert them, right? So I'm saving that. Oops, here we go, save. Okay, so now let's go back to that Jamboard. Oops, wrong one. I'm getting there. And I want this to be a background, let's say, for my kids to maybe peer critique. Or maybe it's their own and I put it up for them later, whatever, okay? Maybe I want the whole class to critique it. Different options here. I don't want it to move though, right? Because everything we had on these were kind of movable. I want them to be able to use it, not actually move something or delete it. So I'm gonna hit Set Background, and I'm gonna go right here to my image. Remember, I can upload or do whatever. I went ahead and saved this to my computer. So I'm gonna go to Upload, Browse, and I think it was in Downloads. No. PC Pictures. Oh, guys. All right, let's try that one more time. That way I'll know where it actually went this time. Oops, wrong one. So it's a good point to go back to. Windows Shift S. Okay, got it. Kind of open it. And we're going to save it. And this time I'm going to see where it actually saved to, and I'm going to put it in Downloads. Save. There we go. Sorry about that. So let's go back to here. Now I can upload it because I know where it is. It's right here. Open. It's a background. It's not movable. They can't change it. They can't do anything with it. But I could assign this out now, right, to my class, to a group, to just a kid, and they can now maybe peer critique it or highlight certain things. So let's say I wanted them to highlight maybe incorrect spellings. They can, I think that's spelled right. This paragraph actually looks pretty good. Well, let's say I wanted them to highlight certain words. Maybe visualize. Maybe we can use the highlighter for that. Highlighter. Here we go. Okay. Or you can even have them create a little shape to put around it. Whatever you're looking for them to look at. Oh no, it's blocking it. Transparent. Oh, I like it to be a certain color. Perfect. So they can now annotate and critique, okay? And if you gave this out, I actually did this in Louisiana. We take the LEAP test, which is our standardized test. We had different versions of answers from certain kids, and we critiqued them. And I put it all out there, gave it to the whole class to look at it once. And they looked at it, they looked at the rubric, and they went in and put sticky notes, like 3 out of 4. So I had a bunch of sticky notes over here with what their scores were, and then we discussed why they give that score and so on, okay? It's pretty cool. So we got that. So let's take a look at some other ELA examples. Okay. What about just a brainstorm or note jotting down kind of thing where they can use text boxes, handwriting, sticky notes, whatever. You put a picture, or they even find a picture of the book. And this is really good for just getting out all their thoughts on what that book is, like a novel study. You could have them use sticky notes or text boxes to start with a writing, like here's the main idea, and here are my details that I'm going to put about it. You can have them do a vocabulary model. And if we have time, we're going to make one of these as well in slides, okay? So you can have them make a Fryer model, okay? So you give this and you insert this as the background, and then everybody has a copy of it, let's say. You say the word, and then they go ahead and fill in for each day or whatever your purpose is. Some other ones like sorts, right? That's pretty cool. Compare and contrast Venn diagram right on there, text on there. Make that collaborative or individual. I teach science, so we do CER writing a lot. So I could have them work this on themselves, insert their notes and stuff as they're going along, and then they can make a document to turn into me. Scratch and respond. This is basically like you've got a background and it's all pretty, and then you put a circle on top with a pen, and then they erase it to see the response underneath. It's pretty cool. All right, so what about history? So what I'm going to talk about now is how you can go ahead and use slides to make Jamboards, Google Slides, and you can insert that as a background, okay? So I found this on Slides Mania, and I made a copy of it. If you're not familiar with Slides Mania, you need to check it out because it's super awesome, okay? Free templates on slides. She's even got some Jamboard ideas in there too. So this was actually created by a teacher. They have a Teachers for Teachers section in Slides Mania. And I thought, maybe I could use this for some sort of explorer activity. Like I wanted each of my kids to, or maybe a group of my kids to work on an explorer and research. So I went ahead and found this, and it's got a bunch of these slides, which is great, okay? I only really need one of them though. So I'm gonna highlight it. And I'm gonna go ahead, oh no, it won't let me change it. Well, that might be because you need to go to Slide, Edit Master. So if you find one of these on Slides Mini, you might have to do this, okay? So I'm going to change my word is to my Explorer is, okay? And I might change this to area explored. And then maybe here I want them to give me the effects of exploration. Okay, don't need this, let's say, so we'll just delete that. Don't need this, so I'll delete that. Here. So I'm taking out whatever I don't need out of the master, if it lets me. There we go. And let's see what it looks like now. So it looks like this. When I go to put it on Jamboard, you're not going to see these little text boxes, so don't worry about that, okay? So I want to use this as a background on my Jamboard, and they're going to type on top of it. That way nothing's movable in the background, and I don't have to worry, okay? So I'm going to File. I'm in Google Slides, remember, and I'm going to download. And I'm going to go to either JPEG or PNG, doesn't matter, but it's only going to do this certain slide. And that's okay because I'm going to show you how we can reuse it in Jamboard. So got that. And it's downloading, hopefully. There we go. We'll put this in download, save. So now I'm going to go back to this. And I'm going to set a background in my Jamboard. And I found it right here. Open. Ta-da! So now the students know that I need a picture, right? And they know how to do that if you've shown them how to look for a picture of let's try Christopher first. Christopher Columbus. So they can insert a picture in there. This is after I've shared it to them, obviously, right? And then they can use either sticky notes, text boxes, or their finger, if they're on a touch screen, to fill this information out, okay? So let's say I wanted to make multiple of these for my kid. Disregard the fact that I have all of these slides, okay? In fact, let's just delete these. Oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, you can delete slide frames up here. Getting rid of that one, getting rid of that one, getting rid of this one. Come on, you can do it. There you go. And I want more of these, right? Because I'm going to give it to several kids. Each kid's going to have their own. Let me first take this off. So I'm going to go up here. And I'm going to hit these little snowman right here. I'm going to duplicate. 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 And I'm going to keep going until I have as many as I need. Remember, you have a max of 20, okay? So if you have a class size more than 20, you might need to make 2 of these, right? One for the first 20 kids and one for the next 10, okay? So now I have that, I can share this out to the kids, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit too.
Amanda, we have 2 questions for you.
Yes, ma'am.
How will you create the scratch and response?
Scratch and response. Okay, so this is a background, and it's not movable. Let's say that I wanted this hidden. And I wanted them to find it, basically, okay? You could make a shape to go around it so they know where to scratch, okay? And I'm going to leave it blank. And then I'm going to fill in carefully with white. Okay, so that's gone. All they're going to do now is come over and hit this erase button and erase to reveal. And
that's really, really cool. I'm just sitting here like geeking out. This is all amazing. And the second question is, how can or do you support accessibility for special needs? Does it have voiceover features?
Okay, so good question. If you have Moat, okay, which is in a Chrome extension. And it's right here, okay? I'm going to open it. I do not have the advanced one, okay? There are an upgraded one that allows students to, or even you, to record. And what that does is, let me see if I can pull up the, so let me show you the differences here. So I have a free one, okay? Down here, if your school or you pay for it, you have voice to text. So they can say something into Mote and it'll make it into text. And what they simply do is paste it, copy and paste that text into a sticky note. And it's right there, okay? There may be a way to get around it with Snap and Read too, but I'm not sure about that. But it is something to look into if you have Snap and Read at your school. Do you have any other questions before I go on?
No, we do not.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so got that. What I wanted to show you too is some other uses. So my partner teacher teaches social studies and she uses, she has to do geography, daily geography, okay? She gives them a worksheet with or she used to give them a worksheet with a map on it, and they would answer questions and they would color the map and they would circle things and label things, right? And then they'd lose it. So we now have Jamboards for that. So here's a picture of a map. You can have them labeled, draw on top of it. They have that copy, right? And they can use it at any point. Remember that if they wanted to draw a straight line on here, we use that shift button. Oops, it helps if I'm on the pen. They use that straight button to make a straight line, or if they just want to circle something, if they want to write on it, you can even have them put little text boxes, whatever works for you, okay? And then she would have this, and then on the next frame, she might have the questions that go with it. And that way they have their own copy of that worksheet that they would normally lose. Okay, so let's talk science. I'm a big science fan. I teach it. I love it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take these out. Delete. 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 Oops. And now I'll delete it. Okay. So let's start with a science one. So let's say I wanted them to do an atomic model, right? I've got some shapes. So this is our chance to look at how we can make different shapes and how we can make those transparent as well. We've done it a little bit, but I want to get into it a little bit more. So I want them to make an atomic model of, let's say, carbon. So I'm going to go over here to this because I probably want to give them some background information, right? So I'll put carbon, periodic table symbol. Okay, that's what I need. Insert. So they should have the information they need based off of this. And what we're going to do is we're going to make our energy levels. So I'm going to make a circle. Okay. Maybe I want it a little bigger, a little wider, whatever your fancy is. All right, there we go. So that's my outer one. Now, this is nice and pretty. I'd like to reuse it, right? So right here, we're going to go to Snowman. We're going to hit duplicate. And now I'm just going to make it a little smaller. Oh, need another one. Duplicate. A little smaller. And in here is going to be my nucleus, if you teach science. And I'm going to go ahead and fill it in, okay, because I don't want them to put electrons on there. So I'm going to fill that one in with a certain color. And I'm going to leave the rest of these transparent. If you wanted to make it transparent, you would just go right up here and click transparent. Oh my gosh, I really want it to be a different color. Okay, let's make it black on the outside. There you go. And then I might put a text box in here so that they know that this is the nucleus for carbon. I might make that bigger. There we go. Now I want them to put in some electrons, right? So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to make some more little circles. I don't like that color. Let's change it. There we go. So got that. Now they're going to need more than one, right? So you can either show them how to do this or you can do it for them. They click on it, and just like we did before, we're going to go duplicate, 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 and so on. Okay. Now another thing to note is, let's say that you did this before you made this. Okay. What's going to happen? Let me show you what happens. Don't look at me right now. Don't look at me. What's going to happen is I'm going to put this here, and oh no, I did things out of order. Oh no, that's okay. That's okay. So got this. I really want this to be kind of the background, right? So I want these to be up front. So let's put them in front. And now I can put them on top. Okay. There we go. All right. So that's a science example. I want to show you another science example because, like I said, I use interactive notebooks in math and science. And I'm actually going to pull open this, which used to be a foldable that I used in my classroom. And I have, obviously it looks like a foldable, right? You print it out, you give it to the kids. We're supposed to glue these under the flaps to determine the steps of additive volume. I want to use this in a Jamboard. So how do I get just certain portions of this that I can use? Well, let's go back to a Jamboard, make sure I have a new one ready. There we go. All right, new frame. I'm going to go back to this. And if you forgot, it's Windows Shift S, or you can use your snipping tool if you still have that. I have mine pinned to the toolbar because I use it so much. I'm going to use this today, a little different. And I'm going to put new. I want a new snip. And I want this, please. Okay. And then I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go back over to my frame and hit Control V to paste it. All right, there we go. Got that. So normally they would take the next pieces that I have and they would paste them underneath these, right? Well, I'm just going to mix them up on the bottom and they're going to sort them underneath it. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this. I don't want these in this order. I want them to each be movable. So I'm going to snip each little guy. And we're going to use Control C this time to copy. And I'm going to go back and hit Control V. Oh, that's a little too big for my liking there. That's better. And I'll put that down there. And I'll end up doing that for each of these. And then the kids can move them, right, to underneath to where it's supposed to be. And they have a digital version of what you would consider an interactive notebook. So they can refer back to this to study for their lesson quiz or their chapter or unit test on volume. Okay. All right. So got that. Let's go back here. Some other science uses. Hey, labeling, right? We hand out a lot of worksheets to label stuff. How about we use it on Jamboard? What about sorting science vocabulary? So this one right here was just inserted as a background image. Set the background, went here, put it there so they couldn't move the picture. And then they can put text boxes or sticky notes or write in to label this. If you're doing a group project and you want everybody to have access to the same sheet, you can put it on here and then they can fill in their information as they go. And they each have a copy of it now, right? Instead of giving the group just one worksheet, they each have a copy and they can refer back to that as notes or even, dare we say, evidence for a CER. Oh my gosh, okay. So what I want to show you now is how I can make a slide, original slide, into a Jamboard. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to go to here and I'm going to do slides.new. That's a shortcut. Got this. Okay. I am going to take this out. I'll take this out. And you might be inserting, we're going to do that fryer, I don't know how to pronounce that, I'm sorry, model. Okay, so we're going to draw some shapes in here. And the reason I'm doing this in here is because I want it to be a background and not be movable. So if you're unfamiliar with how to do this, you can, oh, there we go. Make that yellow or orange, whatever. And I'm gonna duplicate this. Oh, did you see how I did that? I'm sorry. Let's do that again. I hit Control D and it duplicates things in Google, especially in Docs. Control D. Oops, not that. Control D. There we go. So I've got these. I'm going to set all of these up. Control D. Keep going, Amanda. You got it. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go. All right. So on my 4 sections, okay, maybe I want these to be different colors. I know I'm being a little anal right now. I'm sorry. All right, I've got this, and then I want a box in the middle, right, for my word. So obviously, before you start this, guys, you've kind of have to have laid out in your head the order of things, what's going to be in the background, what's going to be in the front. You can always change the order, just like in slides as in Jamboard, okay? But we're going to just, basically my point is to make sure you've got either a sketched out version of what you want, or you've got it really laid out in your head, the order of things, okay? So now I'm going to put a box in the middle for that. There we go. And I'll change that to white. There we go. All right. So I've got this and I'm going to be using this. Obviously, I would put some titles up here and directions. Okay. But for time purposes, we're going to move on. I want this in a Jamboard. And maybe I want one on each slide. Maybe there's a bunch of vocabulary words that we're going to be using. And I'm going to put it on a bunch of different slides. And then I'm going to send it to kids to use. And they're going to have basically a digital version of vocabulary. Okay. So we're going to go up here and we get a file, just like we did before, download. And I'm going to make this a ping. And title this. All right, got that. So let's go back to our Jamboard here. We're going to set a background. Go here. I'm going to upload. I could have it in my Google Drive too, if you put it in there. All right, so now this is a clean version, not movable. I would give them the word, or I could type in the word each day. So I might put text and might put renewable. And then I could duplicate this. And change this one to try that again, guys. Non-renewable. Spell today. All right, there we go. And then if I've made, let me get rid of these to show you what the finished one would look like. Hello, there you go. So I have these and I could keep adding on to it. And then once I've got all my vocabularies, let's say for a lesson or for a novel study, whatever you got going on, you can send this to the kids and then they can use this as vocabulary to study. Okay, and they'd fill it out each day or whenever you're doing vocabulary. All right, so got that. So let's talk about sharing. Okay.
Before you go there, we have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
In your opinion, which of these is the quote unquote easiest? Which one is more complicated? Which one would you show to your students first? And then second, third, like what order would you introduce the new types of Jamboard to students?
Okay, well, I would first give everybody their own Jamboard. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And then we would probably spend just some minutes, depending on age level, just having them explore these tools over here themselves. And then you can even give them tasks. They need to get the tools down. And what makes Jamboard to me easier for kids is, unlike slides, because a lot of people I know use interactive slides, and that's great. But there's a lot of tabs at the top. We've got to go to insert. We've got to pick photo and all of that stuff. This is just simple options on the side, which Should not take them very long because kids are pretty resilient and adaptive to figure, especially technology out. It should not take them very long to figure out what each of these do. But if you wanted to curtail or, give them a task basically of exactly what you wanted, you could do that. And then I would slowly add to that and then eventually make maybe a group one. And then by the end of I would say by Christmas, definitely, depending on age group. Again, high, they should be kicking it. But my littles, I would probably do a little slower, right? Um, but definitely, I would say by fifth grade with my kids, by Christmas, they were ready to do a collaborative and knew the expectations like don't delete other people's sticky notes, don't move them around, things like that. They knew. And we could all see it on the board at the same time. So they knew, hey, everybody can see what you're doing. Don't, mess with anybody else's work. Okay. But depending on the age group, obviously, is going to determine what your expectations are going to be. But I would definitely start with just a single one for each kid. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And that way they have their own to play with. They're not bombarded by other kids' work on top of them. And then eventually you can start scaffolding in some group and things like that. And if you have, you don't have a one-to-one computer, let's say, situation at your school, this could be a station. You could set a laptop up in a corner and just put the Jamboard up, and the kids go one at a time to put a sticky note up or to put in information. Okay. And if you wanted there, you could share it out to them a different way, or you can even print it. And I'll show you how to do that too. That way they could have a copy. All right. Did I answer all questions?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Guys, I'm so loving this. I love me some Jamboard, y'all. All right. So we've got some science. So now we're going to talk about how to export them. Okay. Up here, once you got your Jamboard made and you're good to go, you could rename it. So let's say I didn't like this name. I could hit rename and it would say, well, what do you want it to be named? And I can change it. Okay. You can download this whole thing as a PDF and then print it. Okay. And when you go to do that, I'll show you what this looks like. You can do it. There we go. Save. So here, I'm opening it up. Here's this whole presentation. Go to print and just print it. Okay. I don't know if y'all know this, but y'all could add a certain amount of pages to it. So if you didn't want to have each one to be its own page, you could do that. All right. So got that. So back to here. You could save this frame as an image. I just want this one slide or frame to be a picture. Save. Right? And then I can send just that out to certain kids or whatever you want to do. Right? You want to get rid of it, you remove. You want to make a copy of it to send to somebody. Another thing here is version history. This has actually just been added, I believe, this year. So let's say you have a group project or a whole class and somebody made a boo-boo and we can't get back to where we were. We've hit undo and we saved them and can't get back. You can go right here and you can go to the version that you want it back at. So let's say I want it here. And it'll go back to that version from that day. And then I can restore it. Pretty cool, guys. Okay. So Google's got it kind of figured out how even if you make a boo-boo, you can still get it back to where you need it to be. All right. So let me get out of here. All right. So just a few things before we move on. We talked about Control C for copy, Control V for paste, Control D to duplicate items. And then we talked about that super special Win Shift S buttons, all three together, and takes a screenshot. Okay. We also talked about up here how you can duplicate a jam, right? Duplicate or delete. Okay. You can add a jam. Oops. Sorry. You can add a jam right here with the little plus sign and get a new fresh one in there. All right, so we are moving on to sharing, okay? So let's say that I have made this and I have a colleague that I know would also love this, okay? I can go to share and you've got some different options. I might know that person's email and put it in right here, okay? Let's say I wanted to share it to y'all, okay, as a whole group, and I don't know all of your email addresses. Let's pretend that I do, okay? We'll do that first. I'm gonna put in this person. All right, so then it's gonna send her a copy of that. You have options here. You can make her just the viewer, or you can make the editor. Just keep in mind, guys, that if you're sharing it with her and she's an editor, if she makes changes on it, she's making changes on your copy, unless you've made a master copy for yourself. So maybe you want to make a copy for yourself and then a copy for her. We'll get to that too, okay? So, and then I would just hit send and I would let her do what she needs to do on there. Another way to do it though would be to get a link. So I have options here. I'm Livingston Parish, so I can send it. I can have just Livingston Parish people use it. That means that they would have to be in their Google Livingston Parish account to open it or do anything with it. If I wanted anybody in the world to have a link, I can hit anyone with the link. And then I can make them a viewer or an editor, okay? And then I would simply copy this link, hit done, and then send it out to them, okay? And that would be the end of that. Just keep in mind though, again, whenever you go that route and you make a person an editor, if you haven't made your own copy of it, they now have the rights to change yours, okay? So just keep that in mind. Another way to share this out though with colleagues, which is one of my more favorite, is to take out, is to take out the back of this. Watch me guys, see that backslash? I'm gonna take all of that out and I'm gonna put backslash copy. And then I'm gonna copy this whole thing, Control C. And what that does, guys, when I send this link out to somebody, I'm gonna show you what it looks like. I send this link to them, maybe via email or whatever, and they go and open it. It does this to them. It makes them sign in, let's say. So I'll put in oops, hold on guys. Let's do this again. I think my share options were off. Here we go. Let's go with editor. Copy, done. New incognito. Copy. There we go. There we go. I think I got it. I think I got it. Wait. No, it's still going to make me sign in. But anyway, when it makes me sign in, it's going to do the same thing that y'all are going to have to do when you get on this presentation. You're going to have a link and it's going to say copy at the end of it. You're going to open it. It's going to say make a copy. So that person can't edit your copy. You have your own. They now just have a copy, their own copy. So if they make any changes on it, it's on theirs, not on yours, okay? All right. So got that. So let's talk about sharing to students now. You could go through this and share a link if you're not in Google Classroom, but the best bet is to go through Google Classroom if that's what you're using in your school, okay? And I have here class. I'm going to show you how to add that assignment. Excuse me. So we're going to go create. We're going to go to assignment. And I'm just going to put some title here. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to go to add right here. And I'm going to find the Jamboard that I want to assign to them. Let's say it's this one. And I'm going to hit insert. You can search for it if you don't know where it is, as long as you know the name for it. Now, at this point, this is where we have some options, okay, guys? You can just allow them to view it, but that's not really fun, okay? Students can edit it. that means like you've given everybody that big piece of bulletin board paper, right? And everybody can write it on it at the same time. So think about that. If you've only got 20 slides, you might need to make a copy and then send 20 kids one copy of Graphing Angles and the other 10 a different copy, okay? If this is a smaller class, like, and it's not collaborative, let's say it's just one slide and you want everybody on at the same time, then go ahead and click edit file. And what that's going to do is up to 50 kids can get on this one file at the same time and start typing, just like you did earlier in the session. If we're starting Jamboard or we're making this an independent activity and we want them to do their own work, we're going to go make a copy. That's like handing each kid a worksheet. You're giving them their own worksheet. This is their own copy of it. They're not sharing it with anyone, okay? And then you might do whatever you do here, okay, and hit assign. Before I do that, though, let's say I wanted to make this an assessment. Dare I say it? I might make a rubric here. And I might just create a rubric. And we'll put here correct definition. Okay. And do I want 1 point or 0 points? And then I might put a level here like completely correct or whatever you got going on. Okay. You can add more to that. Add another criterion. So I might put drawing. Maybe they had to do a drawing. Do they get 1 point for it? 0 points for it. I'm going to save it. So what's going to happen is when they turn this assignment into me, right? When they hit over here on their side, it says turn in. I can then, and I'm going to show you in a minute, I can then go in and grade it right here in Google Classroom and return it to them. And I can make that an actual grade, or maybe I'm just looking at it and I'm giving them criterion and a rubric for what that was expected of them, okay? So I'm going to assign this. Oh, also, maybe you don't want to assign it to the whole class, right? Or maybe you want to assign it to multiple classes. Now, if you assign it to multiple classes, you can't pick which kids, okay? It just does it to all. But let's say I wanted this class, but I only wanted certain kids. I can unclick and just say, just this kid gets it, or just these 3 kids get it, okay? And then I can hit assign. Assigning. There we go. So that's how we assign something in Google Classroom. And I hope that y'all understand the differences between viewing, which is not a whole lot of fun, and then everybody, hands on deck, right, can edit. And then everybody gets a copy, like their own little worksheet, okay? Excuse me. And like we discussed earlier with Dr. Alexander, if you are starting this fresh and the kids have never used it before, I would definitely start with giving them each their own copy. Okay. All right. So I have showed you that. Let's take a look at what that looks like now that they've turned it in. Okay. They've turned the assignment in. I've got their answers. Maybe this is an exit slip. If this is an exit slip, this is a good example of that. I'm going to go on it. You can also get to it here, guys, from grades. And I'm going to click on this one. And I'm going to click on, now I only have 1 student in this class. Okay. And I'm opening it through grades and I can see it right here. That's pretty cool. And then I would use this button to go to the next kid and the next kid and the next kid. So do you see how you can literally do this from like the computer as an exit slip right there at the end of the lesson or in the middle of the lesson, whenever you do your exit slip, right? And you can just click, 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 click through them and just say, okay, Morgan, you go sit at the kidney table. I'm gonna meet with you in a minute. You go do this. And you can immediately start assigning their next task based off of this exit slip, okay? Or you can go through and write yourself a little list of which kids I need to meet with or which kids need review, okay? So you would just keep clicking this and it would keep bringing you to the next slide. Now, fair warned, it is only going to show you one frame at a time. So if you gave them an assignment that had multiple frames to it, it's only going to show you the first one. So when I do an exit slip, I make it one frame so I can quickly get through these and look at them. If this were an assignment, I would have to go to open. Let's say it had multiple frames. And I would open it and then look at it, right? And she might have another frame after this and so on, okay? And I would go through each one and then make an assessment off of that. And then go back to this. And I can add a private comment like, great job. Or if you're extra, you can use Mote, that extension we talked about, and you can record a response to her. Awesome job. And she would click on that to hear it. Okay. Awesome job. Okay. Another thing you could do, if you wanted to add an emoji comment, yes, I love emojis, you would hit window button and the period button at the same time. And you get a bunch of emojis pop up. How cool is that? So I'm going to pick this one. I really love that work. And I'm going to hit post. Again, if you didn't hear me, that's Windows and period button at the same time right here. See, Windows plus period. And you got different options, all kind of cool stuff. Okay. You can also, if you have a comment bank like I do for some stuff, you can copy it and paste it right there and send it to her that way. Okay. And that way she has academic feedback on her exit slip right then and there. And if you're using it quickly, you can just do the emoji, or you can just call out depending on, how you do things. But what I want to do though, when I'm done with this, is I've checked over everybody's, right? And I'm liking it and I'm happy with it. I am going to click on everybody who's turned it in and hit return. When I do that, it gives them that feedback back. If you don't hit return, guys, they're not going to get the feedback. Okay. So give them their feedback and return it to them so that they can see it. All right, let's go back to here. And I want to show you one that was set up as an assessment. So I made this in Jamboard and I sent it out to my kids. It's an actual version, just this isn't a kid, this is a student teacher. And what I did was I put some information here for them that they needed. And I put all of these little pictures. Let me show you what it looked like actually before. That way you have a better idea. So each kid got their own copy of this because it's an assessment, right? And what they did was they were given this information and they had to drag the pictures and they had to use the pen to show the energy flow in my food web. And then down here, we use sticky notes to label or identify which organisms were producers, carnivores, herbivores, and so on. So what does that look like when it's turned in? Well, it looks like this. Remember how we did a rubric on the last one? Well, let's go over that for here. I made a rubric up for this one. So I'm looking at her answers. Yep, she's got correct placement. Yep. Herbivores. Yep, she got all of that. Oh, look at her. She did great. Awesome. And I'm going to put comment in there and I'm going to post it. Guys, what this done is it already graded it for me. And I have her score right here. So I know her score. I'll return this to her, obviously. She'll get to see what her score is. But I open this. I use PowerSchool. We use PowerSchool for grading. I split screen this, put this on one side, put my PowerSchool on the other, and just go down and put my grades in. Okay? Pretty quick and simple. All right. Let's go back to this and wrap up. You might be done early. Okay, so just to recap real quick, if you assign it in Google Classroom as a view only they can look at it, they can just look at it, no fun, right? But if you have them edited, everybody that you assign it to has hands on deck. They can all write on it, they can all draw on it, okay? Here's the deal, guys. If you do that, make sure you make a master copy for yourself. So when you assign this to Google Classroom, it should be a copy of down here, not your original. Because you can change, you can go back to version history, right? And go back to the original, but then you've lost all the student work. So I would make a copy before I send it out to a whole group. If you are making a copy for each kid, you don't have to worry about making a master copy. Google Classroom does that for you. It keeps your original and then sends them their own copy of it, okay? It's like you keeping the black line master and them getting a copy of the worksheet. This, guys, is your black line master, so don't give that to everybody, okay? Make sure you have a master copy first. And then the last thing, just remember, sharing is caring, right? So if you made something awesome and you want to share it with somebody, you want to share it with a colleague, somebody across the state, whoever, there are different ways to share, and we've gone through those. Remember, again, if you're going through a link or you're sharing it with someone and you're allowing them to be an editor, then make sure that you have your own copy unless you want to collaborate on that with them and allow them access to changing it with you, okay? One last thing I did want to show you is, let's say that I want to give somebody their own copy without putting copy in the back of, you know how we put copy back here? I can hit share. Save. Share. And I'm going to put in somebody's name here. And I'm saying, yep, you're an editor. Okay, and I'm going to send it to her. I can, however, go back. If this were a copy of it, I can go ahead and go back and change this to make her the owner of it. So if I made a copy and I'm sending her a copy by myself, I'm not forcing her to make a copy. I can make her the owner of this copy, and she will have all the rights to this. Now I can still edit it unless I want to change myself to viewer, right? But she would have her own copy. You will have sent it to her, and so on, okay? Or him. Anyway. So that about wraps it up. Unless
We
I
have a
have
question for you.
questions. Yes, ma'am.
James is wondering how you could create a Jamboard where students could manipulate letters to make words for word families.
Okay. So let's do jam.new. So like magnetic letters? That's what I'm kind of hearing.
I'm thinking moving the letters around to create word families. And he said yes.
All right, so let me go with magnetic letters. We'll try transparent background. Y, let's say. There you go. And maybe I want to set the background different color. Oop, that one's not transparent. But what we could do, we go to remove black background, remove.bg. And I'm gonna go back to that. Let's find one. Let's do magnetic letters. All right. I want. Which one do I want? I don't know. So many options. Let's go with this. Okay. I am going to save this. Yep, looks good. I'm going to go over here and upload it. All right. I'm going to download it. And then I'm going to insert it. Nope, do an upload. Ta-da! Now, obviously you would just want one of each of these, right? But that's just an example of how you can remove the background of something that you want to use and put it in there. And this is movable, right? Because I've just pasted it or inserted it into the Jamboard. If anything's placed as an actual background item, like you've done it through Google Slides or another way, and it's just an image in the background, that won't be movable. But anything you put on top will be. I hope that's answered that.
I think you have. So what I did was I allowed the participants to unmute themselves to ask questions, but we do have 2 quick questions before that. One is the rubric part. Can you show that one more time?
Sure, absolutely. All right, so let's go to my class. In terms of grading it or in terms of making it?
I'm guessing in terms of making it.
Making it, okay. So let's say, let's make a new one. Let's just start scratch. Create assignment. I am adding. I am looking in my Google Drive for that Jamboard. Let's go with this one. Inserting. I don't want them to view it. I want them to each have their own copy. So I make a copy. And right here, rubric. Now, if you've had a rubric that you've already used, you can hit reuse rubric and it'll find one that you've already used. Okay, that's just extra. If you want to make one for the specific assignment, starting from scratch, you can go to create. And right here, yes, I want to use scoring. Okay, and then your title of what you want. Correct. And then you could even put a description, like an explanation of the expectations for that. I could make this 3 points, and then maybe they have an option for 2 points, and then an option for 1 point, and then an option for no points. And then I could put the level, so advanced down to little, and then I'd give a description for why they got those points. Right here, you would add another one. So if you wanted another point value for your rubric, I'll just put anything there. And then you can put your description, same thing, same thing. Once you're done with that, you're going to hit, and as you can see, I have 4 points, 3 for this one and then 1 for the other. And I'll hit save. And now they have a rubric. And they can see this rubric too, guys. When they open the assignment, it'll be available for them to look at. So they know what's expected. And then I would just hit assign. And then when they turn it in, once they turn it in, then you're able to go in here and grade it using what we did over here. That rubric just sits on the side and it's so pretty right there. I don't have to go back to anything else. It's just right there ready for me. Any other questions?
Thank you so much. I don't see any more in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to any microphone people that want to hop on the mic and ask a question.
Okay.
So going once for microphone folks.
Okay, all right. Amanda, that was a great session. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Who knows? And I love your self-talk.
Thank you.
Such a teacher.
It's a little quirky.
Oh no, it gave me good vibes.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Paula. Going twice for questions or comments.
I just want to say thank you to you, Dr. D, and to you, Amanda. This was mind-boggling before I even had coffee. And I'm just looking forward to watching it again and again and again. So thank you so much for bringing this to me.
No problem. I'm glad you liked it.
You are so welcome, Janice. And next we have Tammy.
Hi, this is Tammy. I am actually a retired teacher and librarian, but I want to keep up my certification, so I'm taking these classes. And I did an 8-week long-term sub position, and I was getting Jamboards, and I really didn't know a whole lot about what I was doing with them. The kids knew more than I did. So I appreciated this so much because I'm hoping to be able to do more long-term virtual positions in the future. And now I know what to do with these. So thank you.
Thank you, Miss Tammy.
You're getting nothing but love in the chat and on the evaluation that I'm seeing so far. So yay. And remember that this is being recorded. So you will be able to go back if, I feel like you had to know what Google was to attend the session. So yeah. So anyway, what, any other comments or questions? Last call. Okie dokie. Well, Amanda, I just want to say thank you so much. It really was jamming with Jamboard. You showed us not only what it was and went like step by step, but you also showed us Google Classroom tips. Like you went further than you really had to show us Jamboard. And we completely appreciate that from showing us the tool from start to finish. So really, really, really thank you so much.
Thank you.